Okay, well, just bygones be bygones. I actually recorded a half an hour message earlier, but accidentally closed the editor before saving the file. Wow. Well, I tried not to let it get to me. Just like I was preaching on that message, we need to try to not let COVID get to us. We need to look for the, how the strength that God gives in all circumstances, like in Philippians 4. And I was preaching from 8 to 13 actually, but maybe, just like I said, about my spirit fingers, God doesn't want there to be, how can my spirit hand make a mistake, right? And closing that. So maybe, like Romans 8:28, which I'm sure a lot of you might be asking, what's going on, Jesus? Why you got this COVID and all this? And what happened to working all things for the good of those who love you? Isn't there a lot of Christians in this world? And I think that maybe Romans 8 is actually the more appropriate passage for me to talk about, because it actually has more that, like, if you look from even the whole chapter, but specifically if I hone in starting with verse 18, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. The creation waits in eager expectation for the sons of God to be revealed. So, one of the things I did say in the message got deleted. So I'm gonna just try to do a 10-minute message instead. But again, I could stick around and chat and live chat if you guys are doing that for this week's release. That's fine. Or I just post another video for Premiere, or open a Discord or something. We'll figure it out if there's people who do watch and want to stick around and chat longer. So our present sufferings are not worth comparing. So the creation is kind of like, what I'm saying is that one of the things that kind of happen is that I am doing these messages to fulfill my purpose, and I don't think that I would do that outside of this whole lockdown situation. I don't think it's necessary for me to use this medium to communicate when we have other alternatives, right? So that's one of the things that kind of came out of this, is that, hey, I'm making these messages for people, and hopefully there are those who maybe watching anonymously, because I have no idea who my viewers are, let's be honest, that maybe can use this some way to kind of learn about Jesus and get to know him better. Well, Jesus did come to us in the form of a man, but I do believe that God can possess feminine qualities. It's just, let's not get into that right now. Alright, so so the word creation is repeated a few times, beginning in 18, so not just in 28. So yes, I think that God is still in charge of everything in the world, and that there is a justification, just like in Job asking questions, that God can be like, that you can be like, oh, why are you causing this COVID thing? But the thing is, did God cause the COVID thing? Really? I don't know. It's hard to say, right? I kind of think of the that movie I'm Legend, right? Where what's his name again? No, I can pause and look it up, but I just want to see if I can go 10 minutes without, see how I do, just raw 10 to 10, kind of thing, because I lost my half an hour video and still kind of worked up about that a little bit, so we're just gonna go for it. The doctor that Will Smith plays in that movie I'm Legend, where he's like, oh, God didn't do this, we did, right? And I know there's some theories about how coronavirus came to be, and regardless of whether they're true or not, You know, are all viruses an act of God? Well, I believe as far back as the earliest, or some will argue that the Job is the earliest book in the Bible. There is, you know, a possibility that, you know, it suggests that God allows viruses, but He's not necessarily the cause of viruses. So, and the thing is, you know, God doesn't kill people. You know, people kill people. I mean, like, yes, there's natural disasters and stuff like that, but like, for the most part, this, if anything, the pandemic is reminding us of is that people can kill people, and now we all potentially have like weapons to do so in the form of bio warfare, in the form of coronavirus. So, and I just want to do, so maybe I will pause because I actually do want to do a quick word study of what the Greek word for creation is, because it might be interesting. Alright, so apparently I'm getting this from BibleStudyTools.com. My friend Sarah had also told me about Bible Hub. Apparently I also learned about Blue Letter Bible as well, which is actually, I think they're all good resources, but this is the one that Mary had recommended for our class. So I tried it out. It's not too bad. It's not what I'm used to using, but you know. So some of the things it says is it's from the Greek word kaithesis, I believe, if I'm saying it right, or kitasis. There is a like a you know, speaker button that I can press, but it doesn't really yeah, it doesn't actually seem to work for me. So one interesting thing is I found that the other instance they use this Greek word is in 2 Corinthians 5:17, where it says that anyone who's in Christ is a new creation. So I think that's something to note, that, you know, that both being offered by the same offer, that, you know, this could also not just only be, I'm not saying it's not referring to you know, the world as well, but it's also like it could be just the way you know, for example, it says the whole creation has been groaning in the pains of childbirth in verse 22. You know, not only so, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit grown inwardly as we eagerly wait for our adoptions as sons, the redemptions of our bodies. So in context, you know, maybe this actually kind of sort of is a more narrow view than what is said in Romans 1 about just where it's more of the creation is actually talking about more of the earth, which I can also quickly look that up as well, but I don't know if I want to. I'm still kind of a little bit annoyed that I have to redo a message. It's like, oh, I could have used that for November 24th. No, just. I guess God had decided somebody really needs to hear about Romans today. So another thing that I liked is what it says prior to 828, because too many people look at 828 on its own and don't consider the context and context enough. And I'm doing something different today, is that I am not going to be looking for this in the Hebrew, because I just simply well, it's not just because I've been doing a lot of Hebrew up this week in general, but I've also kind of want to respect the fact and acknowledge that I haven't really done anything in Greek yet, so I don't really feel that I have a full expertise to do a lot of understanding how this verses or even the word creation is used in the Greek, simply because I don't think that I'm familiar enough with the grammar and, you know, the different forms of the nouns and how Paul might have used Greek to express himself in this particular letter, assuming that it's written in Greek because of the fact of the audience and the you know, the culture he's trying to reach out to, that, you know, Paul being a preacher to the Gentiles, he is not only, he doesn't just want to reach the Jewish people. So even though he might have written some stuff in Hebrew as well, I think he may have written the majority of his work, stuff that has made it to the New Testament in Greek. Again, it's just an assumption at this point because I have not taken the Greek course. So, alright, so I'm going a little over 10 minutes again. But anyway, so the whole point is I want to also highlight a few verses simply about hope. Continuing what I was reading earlier. For in this hope we are saved, verse 24. But hope that is seen is no hope at all. For who hopes for what he already has? But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. Now hope is probably, and let's see. Why don't we look at it together? So I'll bring my browser into the, so this is for creation, and that's the Greek word. Like I said, katasis or kitasis. And again, the speaker button does not work for me, at least. And this is where I found the 2 Corinthians 5:17. I think that it's just a hunch at this point until we look it up, that maybe hope is also the same hope as in 1 Corinthians 13. I believe that's what I'm thinking about. The faith, hope, and love verse. So interesting. It pulled up that. Anyways, don't think too much about that. That's just I think for some reason it's using the same search results from what I was trying to find some other resource. So it's as opposed to the recent Google searches, which is kind of interesting. But anyways. How do I get... Oh, okay, I think this is... Yeah, here we go. Hope. Yeah, like Russell Peters. Oh, sorry, I only use first names. Like Russell. It said one time. So you knew that he was talking about you, but he gave it his hope. Alright. Ephesus. So apparently hope gave fruit this. Ephesus. Or Ephes. Elphus? I don't know. Oh, maybe Ephes. Yeah, okay, L is right. Elpis. Or Elpes. I don't know. Well. And this is what I'm talking about. And, this is kind of how they use the word in the Greek is what this definition, this is giving you here. When I was talking about the BibleStudyTools.com earlier. And yes, again, 1 Corinthians. Oh! Da 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 da. In some cases, you do see different words here. Like apparently, when I was looking up the word "good," it is also translated as "right" from the Greek in a different passage. But when you do see the same word, lo and behold, it will probably give you the same result. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I have to. Oh, I don't seem to have the option. But anyways, take my word for it, or take my davar, as they say in Hebrew, for it. But they don't really use davar the same way we would use, take my word for it, or I give you my word. I think, they would use, as far as I realize, having a word with somebody, but they don't necessarily use the other two usages of the way we use the word in English. Like I want to give you my word, or take my word for it, kind of. So that's one thing. All right. I made up for half of what I lost in the 30-minute message, so I'm just going to end it here. Oh, or maybe not. Okay, if I can get the study tool, let's see here. I just thought that this was an interesting segue into but again, I mean, if you allowed me to, I mean, I could probably just preach 10 hours straight on the Bible, but I don't want to go over possibly half an hour, and so I just debating whether I can in 15 minutes do this concept justice. Because what I'm saying is that, okay, it's interesting, right? You were talking about hope, but Paul says the greater of the greatest or greater even then is love, but love, as we know, is also, God is love from 1 John 4, and then God also is sacrifice, right? So yeah, does God cause those that suffer to that He loves to suffer sometimes in order to help us to love better? Actually, like I was telling somebody who has not taken a course yet, what I learned from Phil's course of the theology of suffering. Actually, yes. Give me a second. Let me pause the video and let's bring us there. So here we have it's called the beauty of choosing to be refined, and oh, sorry, I just got a little distracted for a second. Anyways, the refiner's fire paints such a beautiful picture for us. My monitor seems to have rechanged the setting for some reason. Anyways, the beauty of choosing to be refined. So I came across this poem the other day because I had saw the word gold in Hebrew and the word fire in Hebrew is in the same vocab test. So I was thinking about like this, and I'm not really sure the silver refined into gold. I'm not really a chemist or like a mason or whatever it is, so I couldn't tell you for that. But I just think about the I am hewn up by gold, refined in the fire, naked and poor I come, clothe me in light, Lord, light the fire again. So I actually did like also what was said here, right? She asked the silversmith if it was true that he had to sit in front of the fire the whole time the fire was being refined. The man answered that yes, he had not only had to sit there holding the silver, but he had to keep his eyes on the silver the entire time it was in the fire. If the silver was left a moment too long in the flames, it would be destroyed. The woman was silent for a moment. Then she asked the silversmith, "How do you know when the silver is fully refined?" He smiled at her and answered, "Oh, that's easy. When I see my image in it." I like that. I was like, oh, it's a friend of mine, Luke, had once said, and I don't consider him as the category. I use his first name. I don't consider him, as the other category that I use, where it's like former friends kind of thing. So but he was like, oh, I can speak in any language, and I think God can speak in any language, whether it be science, nature, whatever. Like I said, all creation is so let's look at that creation from Romans 1 for a second. Might as well, for the sake of those who are not as versed in Christianity. Here we go. Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power, and divine nature have been clearly seen, been understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified Him nor gave thanks to Him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man, and birds and animals and reptiles. So going back to what I said about silver doesn't refine into gold, the more I reflect upon it, the more I think it does. Even though like I said, I don't have any either like the the knowledge to know, or even like I don't want to bother googling it. So, but because like if you look at like the golden calf and stuff like that, it's like, okay, it's like, so why do people use gold? For idols and stuff. Maybe because it is the purest form of metal, in terms of no impurities and stuff like that. So that makes sense. But God's like, well, it's not pure enough, to represent, to the type of purity that you're trying to worship. Even it's pure, but it's not pure enough. It's like, kind of to paraphrase that scene from How I Met Your Mother, where I think it was like, I think it's Marshall who actually holds Robin and Barney like hostage in the room, and it's like, not good enough. Speaking of good, I did look that up as well, and the Greek does not always translate good. The word is not always translated good. It's sometimes even translated as right, which is also very subjective, and translated as maybe other translations as a different word, simply because of the way that word is used in Greek. Is no direct like equivalent one English word for it, actually. So even if you look up good in the English dictionary, there's actually a lot of possibilities of what they mean by good. It's not just a contrast, good and evil, or good and bad, or but yes, even just from that, right? It's like, oh, this, this water tastes good, or this water tastes bad, right? So right, that's also very open to interpretation, as they say. 22 minutes. Oh, what do you know? Like I said, maybe from now on, I should just learn to just go with the spiritual leading and not really have to think, oh, maybe I should preach on this because I know about this, or or I have been studying this week, like the word good, so might as well reuse it in my message. Instead, I should just continue to do things more spontaneously and let God do the refining, because obviously, as much as I prepare, as much as I try to make a good message, it doesn't mean that it's a good message. What makes a good message is whoever watching it, even if it's just one person and not the world, that they're actually really taking it to heart. So whoever had read Romans 8:28 in the past, thinking, God, if you're a good God, why you allow things, aren't you supposed to work all things to the good of those that love you, So again, it would be worth your time to look up good as well in that or some other tool for the word good. Maybe I'll post the Blue Letter link as well for you guys, from the Blue Letter Bible. Simply because, like I said, I don't have to necessarily reuse everything that I've been doing in schools, right? Alrighty. So this was set to premiere on November 14th, 11:30 a.m. Like I said, for the next few weeks, we're gonna go over that time. That's Eastern time, I believe. Universal time right now, that'll be 4:30, 5:30 in the evening. So we'll see how it goes.